Oh, hey guys, how are you doing today? My name is Landon Huber, and I'm an illustrator, a musician, and a comic book artist. I also do surrealist painting, and welcome to my 5th art process video. Today, I'm going to show you my process for creating a painting in oils. To me, an oil painting is maybe the hardest in some ways to master of all the mediums, but it's also the most rewarding. With oils, you are able to build the illusion of depth in an art piece that is unreplicatable in most other mediums. Because you have slow drying time, it allows you the freedom to blend the colors for a much longer period of time than is possible with acrylics, watercolors, or even alcohol markers. I do, however, mix in an alkyd medium called liquid into my oil paints in order to make them dry in about a day or so. If you don't do this, the paint in your picture could be wet for weeks. I usually prefer to have the layers dry a bit faster than that, which is why I mix in the liquid. I will be creating the artwork on a piece of 12 by 18 watercolor paper that has been sealed first with about 3 layers of white acrylic gesso. Today, I will be painting a character that is close to my heart and close to my childhood. I try to infuse the piece with as much passion, energy, and nostalgia that I could. Today, I will be painting Leonardo from the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I assume most of you are already familiar with the Ninja Turtles. But for me, I was part of the very first generation of kids to be influenced by the first wave of Turtle Mania. When I was a kid, I would watch the cartoons Saturday morning. We used to have to wait all week just to be lucky enough to watch another episode of your favorite cartoon show. And for me, the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles was definitely one of them. When I was very young, just around 6 years old, my parents bought me the Ninja Turtles action figures for birthdays and Christmas presents. I loved them so much. I remember once going to the Toys R Us, which at that time in the late 80s for a kid was unreal. You couldn't believe what was before your eyes. The most amazing toys you could ever imagine. I was hooked. I also used to have loads of fun playing the Ninja Turtles NES video game at sleepovers with my cousin Jeff Jones and my younger brother. We would have so much fun. We even went as kids to see the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie in the movie theaters, which brought the turtles to life in live action with the help of Jim Henson's Creature Workshop. Then later, I discovered the comic books. It was all so cool! So, that's why I wanted to do this painting. Wish me luck. I hope it turns out as cool as the fond memories of the Ninja Turtles from my childhood. And with that, let's begin. Oh, and one more thing. You never want to start a painting like this without first having a few sips of your favorite soda. A couple sips of soda. That's good stuff. Let's get started. you can see here, I'm just starting in drawing on top of this paper, which has already been gessoed. When you're drawing on top of gessoed paper, it's pretty much like drawing on top of plastic. But that's okay, because the drawing really here is only to serve as a purpose for me to see where I'm going with the painting. None of this drawing is going to be here by the time this is finished. But it helps me establish where everything is. Shadow in there on his face. Once again, having the lighting mostly coming from the mood behind. Keeping it pretty loose. Just want to establish the image as fast as I can. Get the shapes right. So the first thing I'm doing is basically just going right over the top of my drawing here with acrylic paint. First I'm putting in the lights. Where does the light hit? That's usually the first thing I throw in there. So again, I'm choosing to do a yellow light, which is going to be hitting him on certain areas. And some of this is guessing, just using intuition. Trying to think of him as a three-dimensional object which light is hitting. As you can see there on the left, I'm using a Stay Wet palette for this acrylics. Sometimes I use it, sometimes not. Just depends on my mood. But if you don't, the acrylics dry so fast they'll basically end up drying on your plastic palette, which you gotta scrape off later. see those hard lines around the shapes there may change in form as I progress with the painting. I may get rid of them when it becomes more of an oil painting and I start to soften edges and things like that. But for this, I'm just trying to establish where it is. Sometimes I'll draw in a line which I intend to take out later. The line just serves as a place for me to see where the object is. And sometimes I'll decide to keep the line, so it just depends on, again, the intuition. What's my brain telling me I should do there? For this, I'm choosing not to draw or not to paint in his upper teeth because at the angle his head's tilted down. I just felt it looked better not showing it, so his lip would be covering that. You'd only see the bottom teeth coming through. With making art, whether it's drawing or painting, in general, you have to keep in mind, and this is a lesson I've learned through my years of experience, you have to keep in mind what you don't see. If you try to draw everything because you know it's there, it may end up not looking right, and no matter what you do, it's not going to look right. And the reason is because you, from that angle or from that perspective, you wouldn't see it. It's not, you shouldn't draw it, you know. So it's always, you always have to be thinking about that. What way the shapes like fall over the other shapes, and what shape those shapes make, and all these things you have to be keeping in mind as you're doing it. How they curve around objects, and they come towards you in various ways depending on the perspective. And with a body or a human or a turtle, even a turtle has a perspective. Sometimes certain shapes are going to jet out at you, and then other ones are going to come down, you know, because of the tilt of the body. So sometimes it's necessary to study this stuff for years before you get it right. I guess it just depends on the person. But trying to become a good artist, it's not a weekend venture, it's a life sentence. So I'm still just going in and trying to get the basic local colors established. Also indicating where things can shadow a little bit. but most of that detail is going to be finished off when I get to the oil painting stage, because all of this acrylic that I'm doing here is really just going to serve as an underpainting for me to finish later. And the reason I'm doing it in the acrylics is just for the speed of the drying. Then after the oils start being applied, there's various stages of actually having to wait for the layer that you've painted to dry before applying the next layer. It can be done a la prima, but you can't do the thin transparent layers and glazing until the bottom layer dries. And again, by blending in the liquid on that stage, it'll help it dry faster. But at this point, I'm still just doing the acrylic underpainting. Also, it's important, especially when you start getting towards the finish, what you have to start really focusing in on is the lightness and darkness of things, of every area of the painting, actually, and how they are working, how they're interacting with each other. And that becomes more important to get right as the painting progresses. In the early stages, you're making your best guess, but then you have the stage of the fine-tuning and honing in on the details, the contrasts, and the values, and the color temperatures as well. Having a shadow cast on the ground there would be like an old brick ground somewhere in New York, dark alley, and obviously with the moon lighting in behind, casting a shadow on the ground in front of them. And again, I'm just kind of indicating the lines here of where the cracks in the brick would be. But now I'm going in and more or less glazing in a thin, transparent, reddish color for the brick. Adding another layer, work up the opaqueness a bit, darken it. I used to have an art teacher that always said, Need to darken it. Put a background. There's 2 or 3 people in the world might know what I'm talking about. I don't know if any of you have picked up on it, but this rock and roll song here, vaguely reminiscent of a Christmas tree. Establishing my perspective lines. The building is going to be brick and mortar. Very Christmassy kind of rock and roll. Keeping it pretty washy, or first establishing where the brick is on the building, the windows. At night, the hues that things are generally blue. That's how you convey something as a night scene. Of course, that doesn't mean everything is just blue, but the main hue that if you want something to appear though that it's at night is blue. We have the blue in the background, blue buildings, blue sky. And of course, the yellow moon, which casts light on the buildings, on the sword, and on the back of the turtle. The Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle, that is. The reason I'm painting this in a washy kind of way is, one, because it is a background element, but also I want to try to retain some of that texture in the final picture. If I just colored it in totally flat, then it would just be flat. I want to kind of get the feeling of little light reflections and hitting the bricks in different areas. That behind him is like an entrance to the sewer, so he just popped up out of the sewer. There's steam coming up behind him. I'm still trying to keep everything loose, try to get the life in there. You don't want to stiffen things up too much by trying to make every line perfect and precise. You want to try to keep it loose. So what I'm doing here is applying a thin layer of liquid to the top of my acrylic underpainting. And what that is going to do is, one, seal the layer underneath, and then also give everything a nice slippery layer to paint on top of, and also speed up the drying time of that first layer of oils. But of course, you will use a lot of liquid doing that. The oils are a totally different medium than the acrylics. So as you apply them, they're just blending in there with the oil, and it's a lot finer of an effect that you can get with oils than you can get with acrylics. Acrylics dry and they kind of give you these hard lines everywhere. The oils can blend for a longer period of time to give you softness. Fine-tuning the shading effects. And I usually use several different brushes within any given oil painting piece. And then switch back and forth between them, because you need wet brushes that are carrying certain colors, lights, darks, oranges, reds. And then you need dry blending brushes to go back and soften those edges. Blend the paint. So as the light hits the turtle, certain areas of it are going to more of an orangish color. You can see there I'm adding in a strap. Now, the original turtles, their belt was like a brown, same as the strap. But when the cartoons came out and when the action figures came out, the belt was more like a blue. And I chose to go with the blue. So I just like that one. Reminds me of the action figures, which I love so much. A few years ago, one of my friends gave me a big box of Ninja Turtles that he had from years ago that he had never gotten rid of. And that was pretty nice of him to do that. Getting harder and harder to find those original Ninja Turtles action figures, especially to find them in any kind of good condition. You can see here I'm just painting in the smoke coming up from the sewer, floating into the night sky. There's really just nothing that beats the way that the oil paint blends, and it just does things. So it almost feels a little bit out of your control, but it's not. Just gotta learn how to work with it. Now I'm starting to go into the background and fine-tune those buildings back there a bit. Take a look at what I'm doing. Adding some little subtle blue hits around the piece. Sometimes when I'm working with the color, I'll be working in one area, but then look around at the drawing in different areas and decide I want the color to be in those areas as well. And what that does is help kind of bring everything together, and also makes it a little more realistic, because every color in reality has all the other colors in it in various degrees. So there's almost no color, unless it's a fake object like a toy truck or something, that is just a solid, pure color. Every color is a combination of colors. Red, yellows, and blues. Various degrees. You can see there, I just I'm cooling everything down. I cooled down the red brick. Fine-tuning the details, trying not to make the windows too dark so that they still appear there in the background. Trying to make sure my edges aren't too hard either. There's a lot of things to think about. Well, that's the fun of oil painting. I think the sound of this music right here is reminiscent of those NES video games we used to play. Some slight orangish hues on the moon and on the brick. And as the painting progresses here, each thing I'm doing to it is subtler and subtler. Subtly darkening little areas. Blending little areas. Because I really want this painting to feel like it's three-dimensional, like it's real in a way. I mean, at the end of the day, this is really just paint on a gessoed piece of paper, but I want the image to feel like it could come out of the paper. And interact with you. And that's the goal of all art. It's the ability to create imagery, but the imagery is actually an illusion. It's not a photograph. Adding some little smoky white hits just here and there, wherever my brain says it might need it. And sometimes I'll do it and I think, oh crap, you know, I messed it up. But part of the whole thing is trying to develop your ability to know what's going to happen before you do it. But there's still a process of action and reaction. And here I'm adding in the orange tint into the windows so that they're not just yellow, that they feel a little bit more like gradiated, the softer gradient, which is why I'm using my blending brush in there. And sometimes it's necessary to flip it upside down while I work so that I can use my brush in a certain way. And also, if your painting looks good upside down, well, it's probably going to look pretty good right side up. Because by turning the painting upside down, it kind of allows you to just see shapes and colors and how things are interacting together without defining it as a certain thing in your mind. Allows you to think in a more abstract kind of way, which is what art's about. And now by this time, I'm really working over an already dried first layer of oils, or possibly even second. Just fine-tuning it bit by bit. Getting little areas a little bit darker. Sometimes you might hit an area and think, oh, I just went a little bit too dark, and you can almost just tap it with your finger and maybe it'll fix it. It'll kind of soften it and also take a little bit of that paint up. This isn't digital, folks, so this is oil paint. Just hitting a little piece of paper and drawing on top of other layers of oil paint. You can see that shadow that I put on his arm. I did decide to move later on, which you'll see. Never want to forget to sign your work, folks. I used to sign my name with an LH. But then my wife actually said, you know, you need to put your name on so people can see it. Nobody knows what LH means. That was my little insignia I used to use. So again, this is working on type of dried oil paint, and I'm adding in blue hues in a thin transparent wash. Because I decided after looking at it, thinking I was done, that I needed to cool everything down a bit to harmonize it better and make it appear more at night. Cooling it down. Now this was a tough decision to make, to put that shadow from the sword falling right over the top of his face, again over a dried layer. But the more I looked at it, the more I felt it just had to be there. There you go, there's where I moved the shadow from his arm up. Which then I'll have to repaint the area where the shadow is down there. Right now it looks like a double shadow. Just adding in little soft, little transparent, little transparent hits of blue, soft blue. Another nice thing about oil paint is, you know, you put something down, you don't like it, you can kind of move it around. It's a pretty workable medium. And there I'm going in and painting out that shadow that was there. And now, Finally, it's finished. He kind of looks like he's ready to kick old Shredder's can on down the road. Or perhaps he's already done that, but just has one more foot soldier to take care of before rejoining the rest of the gang to take on the evil Krang. Let's hope he's successful. I'm sure he will be. I like how it turned out. Let me know in the comments below what you guys think. Put him in the finished pile. Well, thanks for spending the time with me today. I encourage any of you artists out there who haven't tried oil painting to go ahead and give it a try. You just might end up falling in love with it like I did. And hopefully, you enjoyed watching me create this painting as much as I enjoyed making it. For more information about me, for links to my other artworks, or if you want a commission from me, please see the description below. Also, if you like the video, be sure to give it a thumbs up and share it with your friends. And best of luck to you all with all your artistic pursuits and painting endeavors. And always remember, be creative. Bye for now. See you next time, guys. Oh, you know what? This calls for one more sip of soda.
Radical! Yeah! Totally ridiculous, dude!
That's good stuff. Take it easy.
Always like COWABUNGA.